The umpire didn't hesitate. That was the part nobody expected. Not the confrontation. Not the words exchanged on the mound between two of the most recognizable figures of the sport. Not even the moment Gerrit Cole stepped toward Ohtani with something in his expression that had clearly been building for longer than this game. What nobody expected was how fast the umpires moved. No warning first. No extended conversation. No the let's all calm down gesture that officials reach for in these situations before anything permanent happens. They saw what was happening. They assessed it in real time. And they made a decision that will be discussed in baseball circles long after the final score of this game has been forgotten. Gerrit Cole was gone. Ejected. Immediately. Harshly. With the kind of finality that lands differently than a routine toss, it sends a message that extends well beyond one pitcher and one game. And at the center of all of it, the way he always seems to be at the center of everything that matters this season, was Shohei Ohtani. There are confrontations in baseball that arrive without warning. This was not one of them. Anyone who had been watching Cole closely throughout this game, not just the pitches, but the spaces between the pitches, the way he stood on the mound after certain at-bats, the direction his eyes moved in the dugout between innings, could feel something accumulate. It didn't announce itself. It rarely does. But it was there. The specific, pressurized frustration of an elite pitcher who has prepared meticulously for an opponent to discover, inning by inning, to evolutions. Because the opponent was Ohtani. And Ohtani, on this particular night, was unreachable. Cole failed to escape the game. That is not a generous assumption. That is simply Gerrit Cole is. He does not walk to a major league mound without having studied the opposing lineup with the thumbs of someone who understands that talent alone stopped being sufficient at some point in his career, and preparation is now the thing that separates good outings from great ones. He had studied Ohtani specifically. The tendencies. Pitch preferences in different times. The zones where he is lower, or as lower as Ohtani lands, which is a qualifier that already tells you something about the nature of the problem. He had a plan that was logical and integrated with the as a pitcher who had to stand in major league. The plan lasted approximately 1 minute. The first time Ohtani stepped into the box and was there, was a step or two. Not by by something tremendous second pitch. He fouled off pitches. He laid off pitches that were supposed to expand the zone. He treated Cole's carefully constructed sequence with the calm patience of a man reading a book he has already read, not dismissively, but without surprise. The at-bat ended in a walk. Cole stood on the mound for a moment after Ohtani reached first base and stared at a point somewhere between the mound and home plate. The stare of a man recalibrating. The second at-bat produced a double that moved 2 runners and changed the complexion of an inning that Cole had been managing successfully until that moment. The third at-bat, the one that happened 2 innings later, the one that most directly preceded what came next, ended in a home run that the crowd was still reacting to when Cole's expression shifted from frustration to something harder to categorize. The walk toward Ohtani didn't happen immediately after the home run. That is important to understand. Cole didn't come off the mound in an immediate emotion watching him walk through the fence. He stood there. He received the new baseball. He rolled over his hand and church door. He looked toward the Yankee dugout. He looked back toward home plate where Ohtani was beginning his home run trot. And then, not impulsively, not in the blind heat of the moment, but with the deliberate movement of a man who has made a decision, he began walking. Not toward the dugout. Toward Ohtani. The home run trot and the walking pitcher arrived at approximately the same point at approximately the same moment. The geometry of it was almost precise. As if both men had been moving toward a conversation that the game had been arranging for 3 innings. What Cole said has been partially confirmed by reporters working sources close to both dugouts. The tone was confrontational. The content touched on something that went beyond this game, beyond this at-bat, beyond the home run that had just left the yard. Something accumulated. Something that had been sitting in Cole for longer than tonight. Ohtani stopped his trot. He turned toward Cole. And he answered. The details of what Ohtani said in response have not been confirmed. That is consistent with who he is. The version of Shohei Ohtani that the public receives is not the version that exists in the private spaces of the baseball game, not on the base paths, not at the plate during an at-bat, not in a moment when another professional walks toward him with something accumulated in his expression. What witnesses have confirmed is the manner of his response. He didn't back away. He didn't look toward his dugout for support or toward the umpires for intervention. He stood in the space Cole had entered and he responded directly. He did so with the composure of a man who was not frightened by the size of an empty stand. That composure, that specific, unperformed, completely genuine composure, is the thing in time that players across this league will describe to you if you ask them the right question in the right setting. He does not get small when things get large. He gets quiet. And somehow that quietness is all unsettling following the game. The umpires were moving before the exchange was finished. That was what surprised everyone watching. When positioning in first base with the sight line that the situation required, did not adopt the wait-and-see posture that officials typically assume. He had seen enough. He had heard enough. He had assessed what was happening at the speed of someone who has spent enough years on the major league field to recognize the difference between a player venting frustration and a player making a choice. Cole had made a choice. The crew chief's arm went out. The signal was clear and clean, left no room for negotiation. Cole turned toward the umpire with an expression of anticipating his possibility, but nonetheless surprised by unbelievable knowledge. The argument that followed lasted less than 90 seconds. Cole's voice rose. His hands moved in grand gestures and changes provided a specific objection to succeed. As an overreach by infection in this rare situation. The chief listened, or appeared to listen, and then pointed toward the dugout, marked by another suddenly made a decision. The argument started was not moved by any sense. Not quite. The Yankees done in the center. The 70s and teammates understand the late 70s and just the match was at the top of the stacks. The conversation between them was brief and private and conducted in the low voices of men who know that the cameras are on and the microphones are closer than they appear. Aaron Boone emerged from the dugout for his own conversation with the umpires. That conversation was also brief. The ruling stood. Cole was done for the night. The penalty, the formal league penalty that would come in the days following, was still to be determined. But the ejection itself was not subject to reversal on the field. Boone walked back to the dugout. The Yankees' bullpen began warming up. And the game continued. In the Dodgers' dugout, Ohtani sat down on the bench and accepted a bottle of water from a teammate. Someone said something to him. He responded. Whatever passed between them did not appear to be about what just happened on the field. That is the rhythm of baseball. Things happen alone. Violent things, dramatic things, things that will occupy full attention and not because he is unaffected. Not because the things that happen around him don't land. But because for Ohtani, the game is always the next thing. Whatever just happened is already behind him by the time he sits back down. Roberts at the post-game podium was measured in the way he is always measured when the moment calls for something other than measured. A reporter asked him directly what he thought of the umpire's decision to eject Cole immediately without a prior warning. Roberts nodded slowly. He placed both hands flat on the table. I thought they handled it correctly, he said. There are things you can do on a baseball field and things you cannot. The umpires saw the line being crossed and they acted on it. That's their job. They did their job. Another reporter asked whether he was concerned about potential retaliation in future games between these two teams. Roberts looked at the reporter for a moment. "I'm concerned about winning baseball games," he said. "Everything else takes care of itself." He paused. "And Shohei will be in the lineup tomorrow." He said it without emphasis, without drama. The way you state a fact that requires no declaration because the fact itself is sufficient. Shohei will be in the lineup tomorrow. The league announced Cole's penalty 3 days later. A 5-game suspension. A fine. Language in the official statement describing the conduct as incompatible with the standards of professional competition. Cole appealed. The appeal process would take time. The suspension would be defined when it's out. But the moment itself, the walk across the infield, the words exchanged, the umpires were going out without hesitation, that had already happened. That was already permanent. And in the Dodgers clubhouse the morning after, Shohei Ohtani arrived at his scheduled time. He changed into his uniform. He went through his preparation with the thoroughness that his teammates have come to regard as one of the most reliable things in their professional lives. He picked up his bat. He walked to the cage. He began hitting. Like the night before had already been filed somewhere in clothes. Like the only thing that existed now was the next pitch. The next at-bat. The next game. That is Ohtani. That will always be Ohtani. And somewhere in the Yankees facility across the country, Garrett Cole was sitting with 5 days and a question he still hadn't fully answered. Was it worth it?